Hey everyone, it's Mike Ortega with Franklin Ball Realty in Jupiter, Florida. Today I brought a special guest into the office, Scott MacTavish from Insure, Florida. The reason why I brought Scott in today was to give you guys a little bit of education on homeowners insurance and explain what's going on in the real estate world and regarding all the rate increases and things that have been shifting in the marketplace. So, Scott, thanks for coming in today.
I'm happy to be here.
Excellent. So Scott, the question I wanted to ask you today. We've been seeing a substantial increase, 20, 30, 40%. A lot of my clients have been seeing it across the board. Why is that? What can you share with us?
Well, now, Mike, it's been about a 2.5 year period where we've seen huge increases in rates. It started in mid-2020 with the cost of reinsurance. That's the carriers that's the companies, the giant offshore companies that the carriers go to reinsure against catastrophe. So in the event of a hurricane, windstorm, they have to reinsure to offset the cost. It's better than trying to set aside a lot of funds, millions and trillions of money aside. You just reinsure. You have insurance. So the insurance companies have insurance as well. That was a big factor. And so we saw increases starting probably a year and a half, almost 2 years ago, 14, 15, 18, 20%, sometimes even higher. That was a big bump, and that was a tough pill to swallow. However, they continued to rise, and the other factor is the cost of the litigation. Mike, I'll tell you, 75% of the cost of litigation for property law is right here in the state of Florida. And there's a reason for that. It's a legislative issue. I won't go too far into it, but if a roofer comes down from his ladder and tells you he can find another person to help pay for that roof, you bet it's your insurance carrier. Now, it's a policy, it's an insurance policy, it's not a warranty, however, it's legal. They can sue them, and on top of that, if they sue the carrier has to pay the legal fees for both parties. You can see that they're trying to fight a fight with their both hands tied behind their back. What ends up happening is they have to calculate how much the legislation is going to cost, or the lawyer fees are going to cost, and then pay for the roof. They have to relent, and it's a big, big issue.
So we're not even talking about just the cost of the roof. We're talking about the cost of the roof, this attorney, that attorney, roofers involved. There's just a lot of different moving parts that are...
Oftentimes, the legal fees far exceed what the actual claim would have been, and that's why they relent and pay for that roof. Is it right? No, but it's legal, and that's where we are. So, I think there's going to be a joint session soon to address that, but until they do, it's going to continue to go up.
Well, in regards to the roof replacements and things, we're going to knock on wood here that the summer is coming around the corner and it will be hurricane season here before we know it. Changing gears for a second, if with the increase in values of home prices that we've been seeing over the last 2 years, the big, the COVID boom that we all talk about, people that have been in their homes for a few years now, where they haven't necessarily addressed or looked into their homeowners insurance policy in recent time, is it possible that somebody could have a situation where their property is now underinsured based on the cost of building construction, labor costs, and all the things that come involved with, if it's a hurricane issue or hurricane damage, pay the hurricane deductible, and now they're not covered enough to cover the cost of whatever it's going to be that needs to be replaced. Is that possible?
I'm sure it is. And in fact, the biggest thing would be if you've made additions to the house, added square footage, improved amenities. You have a custom kitchen, for example, and you have notified your carrier, you could be grossly underinsured. Now, a policy usually has 10 or 25% for what's called ordinance or loss. So if you have a massive loss and you need to replace windows or garage door or plumbing or those sort of things, there's built-in additions to that policy to address that. But when you're making big additions, and also with inflation, and we see the cost of building materials rising, yes, I think probably half policies, I can't really put a number on it, but I can say that people can easily be underinsured, especially with the cost of building materials now.
Okay. So for all of our viewers out there today, what do you recommend as far as, who should be looking into their insurance policy today?
Have your agents run a replacement cost estimator and just make sure you have enough. Make sure you tell your agent if you have rounded corners or you have coffered ceilings or you've done major improvements to your house. Make sure the agent knows that, because what he doesn't know, he can insure for.
So Scott, when it comes to homeowners insurance policy, in your professional opinion, how often do you think somebody should review their policy and or look into potential opportunities that may exist out in the marketplace that weren't available to them when they first did their policy?
Well, most carriers do have some built-in inflation guard, but it's usually 2 or 3%, and I think we're seeing much higher than that. So I would say every 2 or 3 years, have your agent shop it. And in fact, an independent agent has access to far more markets, so there's always that carrier that likes you more than your current carrier. So shopping it is never a bad idea.
So a perfect personal situation for me. I just purchased my house, new construction in 2020 in the heart of COVID. Brand new house, brand new roof, brand new everything, and Scott took care of me, got me a great rate through one of his insurance carriers that loves new construction. And I personally just saw a 25% rate increase on my home, and it's only 1 year older than it being literally brand new. And so again, the likelihood of risk assessment against my house, I would like to think it's almost the same as the year prior because it's literally brand new.
Well, it's the pooled risk when you think about that. It's not yours, they love yours, but they have to increase it for anyone in that particular area because of the expenses, legal fees, and claims. Water claims too, but really the big ones are the roof claims now.
Okay. What about, so speaking about water, obviously Florida, we have a lot of water here. Some homes are waterfront, some homes are not waterfront, and some people think that, just because a home is waterfront, it's mandatory you have to have flood. Or, oh, I live inland, I don't have to carry flood insurance. Why is there such a misconception? Because we know that's not necessarily the case. I mean, there's a lot of other variables that are.
People think flood is rising water from the water or the estuaries, and in some cases it is. Large swaths of Jupiter are in flood zone because that water comes up that way. But really, flood zones are nothing more than a low spot via the adjacent ground. It's as simple as that. And so you look in Florida, we're basically built on a swamp. And so where developers have moved dirt to lift it up, it's not a flood zone. In fact, there's a lot of houses that are built on a big pad. It's in a flood zone, but the house is not. And so we're not considered being a flood zone for that structure anyway. Flood maps have changed too. So it's a good question because you need to find out real quick. It takes you 1 minute to find out if you're in a flood zone with a flood zone determination. If you are, that's when you have to go in and dig down deeper with an elevation certificate where a surveyor comes out there and has to measure just how high you are compared to the ground around you. It'll make a huge difference in rates too.
Scott, thank you so much for coming in today. I appreciate it.
Happy to help. You've always been there for me, and I've always tried to help you in any way I can.
Thank you very much.
Straight answers. So.
I appreciate that. Yeah, definitely a straight shooter. So for all of our audience members out there, if you need to get your home insurance shopped, maybe you haven't checked it in a while, Scott's a great resource to bounce some ideas off and make sure that you're having proper levels of coverage with the right carrier and it's customized to your specific needs. So Scott, what's the easiest way anybody can get a hold of you?
My cell phone, I always answer it, 561-512-1166. My email is scott.mactavish@WeInsure Group if you just want to send me reports to look at or your current coverage, your current declaration pages. We're here all the time. We're an independent agency, so we have lots of carriers, and we always answer our phones, and I think that's it.
That's huge.
I'm getting calls constantly from people who might have to return my call in 3 weeks, so that's what we're here for. So
yep, that's no lie there. Scott always answers his phone every time I call him, and if he's with a client, he calls me immediately back, and we handle whatever we need to handle. So I'll have Scott's information also listed at the end of this video, and make sure you give Scott a call or an email if you need some help. Thanks, Scott.
Be safe out there.
All right, see you guys.